accessible local government areas, you are bound to find First Money agents. With First Money, we're bringing financial inclusion and the many benefits that come with it. You first. First Bank.
From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Millicent Walker.
Welcome. Tonight, security operatives set ablaze vessel laden with stolen crude oil in Delta State after it was intercepted with the captain and crew members on board. The President writes Senate seeking confirmation of service chiefs he appointed in acting capacity in June, condemns continued killings in Plateau and Benue states. Court orders an investigation of prosecuting counsel Ibrahim Mohammed, who filed an 8-count charge against Senator Stella Odua over falsification of claims. And President Zelensky hits out at NATO for what he sees as delays to making Ukraine a member.
On business news tonight, Nigeria's crude oil production hits about 1.25 million barrels per day in the month of June.
On sports news tonight, new mom Elena Vitolina shocks world #1 Iga Swiatek to reach the semi-final at Wimbledon.
From the nation's capital, Abuja, House of Representatives asks the Central Bank of Nigeria to halt implementation of the directive to add social media handles to the Know Your Customer requirements by commercial banks.
Issues are on the front burner today, and we begin in Delta State, where operatives of the Joint Task Force Operation Delta State and NNPC's private security contractors, Tentita Security Services, have set ablaze the vessel found with stolen crude oil, which was intercepted in the state. The vessel is said to be owned by a Nigerian registered company and was heading to Cameroon with the cargo when it was apprehended yesterday with the captain and crew members on board. During the destruction of the vessel, Executive Director Operations and Technical Tantita Security warned perpetrators of oil theft to desist from the act.
The menace of pipeline vandalism and crude oil theft continues to milk the nation's resources, and this has prompted the federal government to take action. In dealing with that threat, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited engaged Tantita Security Services as one of the companies responsible for securing the nation's waterways and oil pipelines.
If I show you the photographs of the people operating it, when you see them on the road, you will never believe it.
This partnership between the NNPCL and Tantita Security Services has yielded results with the arrest of this vessel, MT Tural LL, laden with 150 metric tons of stolen crude oil on Escravel Sea. The crude was reported to have been illegally sourced from a vessel jacket offshore with no valid documentation at the time of arrest. According to the security company, the arrest follows credible intelligence that the vessel was heading to Cameroon with a cargo on board.
They shatter my vessel, shatter the vessel. So they sent someone on board to take us where to load. So we don't know that's what he wanted to do, but we just followed instruction. So he took us to a jacket.
Okay. We took you to?
A jacket.
Okay.
To load, but we couldn't stay there for long. We left there. When I called my boss that this is what is happening there. So my boss said I should leave there. So now on our way going back to our position of anchor. So Santita boys, Santita security now cross us.
On assumption of office of the current Chief of Defense Staff, General C.G. Musa, he reiterated the resolve of the armed forces and indeed the whole of the stakeholders within the area to continue the fight against criminalities in the Niger Delta area, against our common patrimony, and this includes illegal bunkering, pipeline vandalism, crude oil theft, and the likes. And this has been achieved largely in synergy with a host of stakeholders, which I have listed earlier. Most importantly, we have at the front end our partners who provide the intelligence for us to carry out our kinetic functions as the armed forces.
To demonstrate its commitment to ending crude oil theft, security operatives of the Joint Task Force Operation Delta Safe and a private security company destroyed the vessel using missile from an aircraft. For the Executive Director of Operations and Technical Matters at Tantika Security Services, the destruction of the vessel is just the right thing to do.
The whole idea of destroying the vessel is to send a strong message to all would-be investors in illegality in Nigerian waters that this is what they are going to face if they so wish to do this type of business. And it doesn't end here also. The government will do all it takes, our security forces will do all it takes to further bring you to book, you the individuals that cannot sponsor these type of missions.
With 11 Nigerians and 1 Ghanaian on board the arrested vessel, the Joint Task Force and Tantika say they will continue to protect the nation's oil and gas infrastructure within the Niger Delta region with the ultimate aim of ending the menace of crude oil theft.
Meanwhile, the latest round of violence and killing in Plateau has become a major concern for the president, who has condemned in strong terms the menace in parts of the state. While commiserating with the family of the victims of the attack in Mango local government area of Plateau State and parts of Benue State, President Bola Tinubu frowned on the festering reprisal attacks and bloodletting. A statement by his media aide, Mr. Dele Alake, reads in part, "It is most unfortunate that in this ordeal of violence, an innocent 8-month-old baby in Farin Lamba community of Vang District, Jos South local government, died in a conflict she knew nothing about." The president has now directed security agencies to go after the perpetrators of the dastardly act and asked the governments of Plateau and Benue states and emergency response agencies to provide support and immediate relief to victims, while calling on communities to imbibe the culture of tolerance and forgiveness. In other stories, the president has asked the Senate to confirm the service chiefs he appointed in acting capacity on June the 19th, 2023. The president of Senate, Godswill Akpabio, read President Bola Tinubu's letter at the resumption of plenary today. Our correspondent Linda Akibe reports that the Senate also announced some special committees and their chairman.
I am pleased to present for confirmation by the Senate the 4 nominees listed below as Chief of Defense Staff and Service Chiefs of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Senate President Godswill Akpabio reading a letter from President Tinubu requesting that the Senate confirms the new service chiefs. On June 19, 2023, President Tinubu appointed new service chiefs in the country and named a former chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Nuhu Ribadu, as his new national security advisor.
In view of the fact that we don't have all our committees in place, this is hereby referred to the Committee of the Whole.
The Senate President also announces the much-anticipated chairpersons of the special committees of the upper chamber.
Committee on Senate Services. Distinguished Senator Sunday Steve Karimi will be the chairman, and Distinguished Senator Williams Echeng Jonah will be the vice chairman.
Done with the announcements, lawmakers face the business of the day. A motion is before the Senate on the need to investigate the huge expenditure on premium motor spirits under the subsidy under recovery regime by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL.
NNPCL, within the period of subsidy, a subsidy exit attempt, substituted the term subsidy with under recovery without any recourse to the National Assembly or supervision by any other arm of the government. The Senate observed that while NNPCL within 10 years, 2006 and 2015, claimed that about 170 billion as under recovery. The same NNPCL within 13 months, January 2018 to January 2019, claimed a whopping sum of 843.121 billion naira as under recovery.
The Senate resolves to constitute an ad hoc committee to investigate the controversies surrounding subsidy and under-recovery, and also invites the Group Chief Executive Officer of NNPCL to brief the upper chamber on its under-recovery expenditures. Linda Akibi, Channels Television News.
And all borders shut down across the country since 2018 have not been opened. Only 6 strategic borders selected in 2021 have been reopened. This is according to the Acting Controller General of the Nigeria Customs Service, Mr. Wale Adeniyi, while briefing journalists after a private meeting with the President in his office. The customs boss explains that there are ongoing processes to review the situation against the objective of the closure and the quest to achieve border security and regional integration.
Well, it is not true that all Nigerian borders have been opened. The situation, the status quo ante still existing in the borders. If you remember that the borders were completely shut down 2018 up until 2021-22, when some selected strategic borders were reopened. That is still the situation as we speak. And this was why we had an ad hoc arrangement of a special unit coordinated by the Office of the NSA to enforce that border closure. But as we speak, about 5 of them have been reopened. 4 were initially reopened and 2 more were opened after that. And that is still the situation. There are ongoing processes to review this situation against the objective of the border closure itself. And the processes are not yet completed. And of course, when the borders are reopened, it's not going to be subject of rumor in any way. I can also tell you that part of my discussions with Mr. President is to actively engage customs administrations across our borders, particularly the strategic ones that we must work and collaborate with for us to achieve common objectives of border security and regional integration.
Well, staying with security, this time at the airport, the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, FAN, has suspended 10 of its staff following the theft of the approach lighting system on the runway 18L at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos. It was gathered that FAN has also invited the Department of State Services to investigate the involvement of the staff in the incident. The stealing of the lighting system comes months after it was installed and following the closure of the runway by the former Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika. The minister had directed domestic carriers to divert to the international section following the closure of the runway. Now to legal matters, Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court Abuja has ordered an investigation of the counsel Ibrahim Mohammed, who filed an 8-count charge against Senator Stella Odua. The court is questioning how the charge sheet, which was filed in June 2023 by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has been prosecuted by police. Controversy began when the counsel, Mr. Mohammed, announced his appearance for the Nigeria Police Force. He told the court that the defendant, Stella Odua, was not in court because the investigating police officer was not able to serve her the summons. He said he was seconded to the EFCC but had been deployed back to the police force since November 2022 and resumed at the legal department of the police headquarters January 2023. In a brief ruling, Justice Omotosho ordered the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to investigate the prosecution counsel and revert to the court, and that the prosecution counsel should report to the EFCC immediately. Reacting to the process, counsel to Ms. Odua, James Onoja, threatened to write a petition to the Inspector General of Police and the EFCC regarding the said charges. In part two, after the break, leaders of the southeast states call on the federal government to intervene and restore normalcy in the region. That's in a moment. Please stay with us.
Zenith Bank customers that will win 150,000 Naira every 2 weeks from June 1st, 2023 until May 31st, 2024 in the Zenith Better Life Promo 3. To qualify, simply open a Zenith Bank account. For more information, visit www.zenithbank.com/betterlife. Live the better life with Zenith Bank.
Fresh Your Mega Billions promo could make us millionaires.
Yes, buy Fresh Your 1 liter pack. Open the cap to reveal the unique PIN. Send the unique PIN to 8011 to get free instant airtime and an SMS notifying you of your automatic entry into a raffle draw, where you could be one of 10 lucky winners of the grand prize of 1 million Naira each or 100,000 Naira each. You also stand a chance to win an instant cash prize of 10,000 Naira or 5,000 Naira daily. Fresh Your Mega Millions promo. Bring home the goodness.
When malaria wants your power for your side, it gon' knock you down. I'm a temp salt gel.
There you are.
Me I can tell you no say, malaria my lesson when no get bad taste. Oh, bitter taste for mouth and it dey easy to swallow. Try. I correct game changer. I'm a temp salt gel.
Say no to malaria. Yes to life.
To give the confidence that only comes from knowing you are fully sorted. To show up for you just when you need a hand. And when retirement comes with all its worries and storms, to ensure we will stand by you and give you the coverage that you deserve. Make the perfect choice. Choose PAL Pensions today.
PAL Pensions, your pal for life.
When you sweat, you lose ions too. Reach for Pocari Sweat, similar to your body fluid. It is easily absorbed and rehydrates you faster. Replenish your ions with Pocari Sweat Iron Supply Drink. Now available in new flavors.
Every morning is an opportunity to take your hustle to the next level. Every morning is one day closer to your ambition. Nescafe.
Vida White Card. I'm your big fan too.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, brother.
Me gun myself, I'm a rapper.
Is that so?
Any day, any weather, and I'm chilling with my main guy, Vida.
Alpha, network problem. Yes, well, got me. Let me turn on my hotspot.
It have connected.
You hop on 9 Mobile confirm data. You can't be out here stranded in this street, too, this guy.
When you're on 9 confirm from 9 Mobile, you get a super gift of 1,000 naira just for joining the network. 900% bonus on every recharge. 100% data bonus for 6 months and double data bonus on your first recharge of the month.
Get a new SIM or dial *1400# now.
9 Mobile.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live from Channels Television. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Security operatives set ablaze vessel laden with stolen crude oil in Delta State after it was intercepted with the captain and crew members on board. The President writes Senate seeking confirmation of service chiefs he appointed in acting capacity in June, condemns continued killings in Plateau and Benue states. Court orders an investigation of prosecuting counsel Ibrahim Mohammed, who filed an 8-count charge against Senator Stella Odua over falsification of claims. And President Zelensky hits out at NATO for what he sees as delays to making Ukraine a member. In the courts, the People's Democratic Party and its governorship candidate in the 2023 governorship election in Kaduna State, Isa Ashiru, has tendered documents to the Election Petition Tribunal sitting in the state capital, challenging the victory of Governor Obasani of the All Progressives Congress. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, had tendered documents including Forms EC8A, EC8B, EC8C of polling units from 9 local government areas of Kaduna State following a subpoena. In his submission, counsel to the PDP, Giovanni La, demanded that the original documents tendered by INEC remain before the tribunal until they begin to call witnesses. However, counsel to Governor Obasani, Chief Duro Adeyemi, a senior advocate of Nigeria, asked the tribunal to dismiss the petition of the PDP and its candidates, maintaining that their petition lacks merit. He also objected to the admissibility of INEC's documents presented before the tribunal by the PDP. The tribunal later adjourned sitting till Wednesday, July the 12th, 2023, for continuation of hearing. And away from the courts, governors elected on the platform of the People's Democratic Party have vowed to pursue reconciliation within the party and ensure that all members of the PDP, including former governors, are encouraged to remain in the party. This is one of the resolutions of the PDP Governors Forum at its first post-2023 general elections meeting, which held at the Akwa Ibom Governors Lodge in Abuja. They also asked for neutrality on the part of INEC and security agencies in the forthcoming off-season governorship elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi states.
The meeting advised the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, the security agencies, the federal government to be neutral in the conduct of the off-season elections in Bayelsa, Kogi, and Imo states. The meeting noted the deteriorating security situation in the country, especially the wanton destruction of lives and properties in Plateau and Zamfara states, among other states. It consequently advised the federal government and security agencies to rise to the situation and bring the situation under control. The meeting resolved to work together and unite the forum. We are not insulated from division and rancor like any other party, even the ruling party. You can see they have their own tons and tons of problems and challenges. Ours is even minimal, but as a responsible party, we are going to work towards making sure all the veritable members of the party are reconciled. You can see we have 12 out of the 13 governors who are united, and we work towards build on that and make sure that even those who are former governors, former senators and the rest remain in the party, because this is the future.
In the meantime, political leaders from the southeast region are calling on the federal government to intervene and ensure that normalcy returns to the region. This was the outcome of a meeting of governors, elected members of the National Assembly from the region in Abuja, where they stated that all the state governments in the region agree on the need for the federal government's assistance in this regard.
One after the other, political leaders from the southeast region arrived at the Imo Governor's Lodge for the meeting. There is no concern here for political party affiliation. All that matters is the challenges bedeviling the region.
May their soul rest in peace.
The meeting was held behind closed doors. However, at the end of the meeting, the chairman of the Progressives Governors Forum and Governor of Imo State announces the resolution to seek the federal government's intervention in the security challenges there.
We have identified insecurity. That is the problem of Southeast for now, and is at the front burner, and must be addressed. Over the years, we've been working with the governors of the region to ensure that this matter is resolved. The federal government in the past have supported, but we think that the federal government can do more. So among other resolutions, we resolved today to make a representation to the president for his intervention to be able to bring the insecurity in the region to an end. So any moment from now, we'll be putting together an arrangement to visit the president and discuss with him.
Other leaders from the region share their thoughts on the essence of the meeting.
One thing good about us today, the whole 5 governors of Southeast are working together with Ares Ndibo. And as you know, Ares Ndibo is a major umbrella of Igbo people.
We cannot have a good economy down there. You can't have prosperity for the people if the people are not there. Or if we who are in the diaspora or abroad, we don't go home. So that's it. We're tackling it.
Beyond the sit-at-home order and issues of unknown gunmen, the political leaders appear determined to end other challenges hindering the development of the region, regardless of their political divides.
And from the southeast to Kogi State, where ahead of the governorship election in November, the state government has promised residents of an ideal atmosphere for eligible voters to exercise their voting rights. The State Commissioner for Information, Mr. Kingsley Fangwo, told a press conference that the government would not be deterred by those he described as adversaries of the state and would remain committed to safeguarding the lives and property of the people. He also addressed allegations of complicity by the Social Democratic Party's governorship candidate, pledging full cooperation with law enforcement agencies in eliminating crime from the state.
It's 4 months to the Kogi State governorship elections, and all political parties involved are working hard to woo the electorate to vote for them. The Social Democratic Party, the SDP in the state, has leveled an allegation against the present administration, accusing them of political intimidation and extrajudicial killings in the eastern part of Kogi. At a press conference in Lokoja, the spokesperson of the government tried to set the record straight. He gave reasons for the recent killing of one Kabir Bala, popularly called Oko, at Ejule community, and also listed some of the achievements of the state government.
Kabir Bala opened fire on security operatives with the intent to murder them. According to the report by the security agencies, the person who attempts to evade lawful arrest and even attempts to kill security agents can no longer hold on to such rights. His killing couldn't be termed extrajudicial by any standard. The longest road project that was executed by the administration of Alhaji Ayabelo is in Kogi East. the most audacious electricity project by the administration is in Kogi East. The biggest rice mill in Kogi State and the second in the entire northern Nigeria is in Kogi West. The overhead bridge he did is in Kogi West.
Mr. Fanwo also commented on the allegation made by the SDP candidate, Murtala Ajaka, that the state government issued a circular to all traditional rulers not to receive him in their palaces. Mr. Fanwo describes the allegation as frivolous.
The solution to frivolous allegations is to ensure that people who make such allegations are made to defend it. In law, when you allege, you prove. It is not for us to prove it for you. When you make an allegation, the onus is on you to prove that allegation. And we are calling on the director of DSS once again, the Commissioner of Police, that we need to stem this tide before it gets out of hands. Murtala Yakubu Ajaka should be invited, and he should be made to produce copies of the circular sent to the royal fathers.
The Kogi state government has assured the citizens that it will do everything within the ambit of law to guarantee a peaceful governorship election in November, as people of the state get another chance to choose a new leader.
Into health matters, albeit a tragic story where 7 children have been reported dead, while 22 others from 9 communities of Portiscombe local government area of Yobe State have been hospitalized following a strange illness involving vomiting, difficulty in breathing and diarrhea. The acting executive secretary of Yobe State Primary Healthcare Board, Dr. Umar Chiroma, said that they have received a report of the suspected disease outbreak and have dispatched teams to the affected areas to investigate the cause. He explained that their samples have been collected and are undergoing screening, saying he could not confirm whether it's diphtheria disease or not until the results are out. Meanwhile, the National Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has called on parents to take advantage of the vaccination against the spread of diphtheria to be carried out by the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency. The NCDC Director General said that more than 70% of the cases of the diseases recently recorded are within the age bracket of 2 and 8 years, owing to the unvaccinated status of 82% of the children. And we're off to Abuja for more stories. Victor Matthias is waiting. Hi, Victor.
Hello, Millicent. Good to see you again. Welcome to the nation's capital, Abuja. Now, the House of Representatives is urging the Central Bank of Nigeria to halt the implementation of the directive to commercial banks to add social media handles to the Know Your Customer requirements. Now, this was the resolution of the House today, following a motion sponsored by 9 members who are worried that if the directive takes effect, Nigerians who are not on social media could be locked out of the banking system. Our correspondent Terry Ikumi reports.
It's the first plenary session of the week in the House of Representatives. Before attending to matters listed in the order paper, not surprisingly, a motion of urgent importance on insecurity is raised. Honorable Dachong Bagos draws the attention of Parliament to killings in Plateau State.
7 miners from my constituency were gruesomely killed in cold blood on the 9th of July 2023 around Ferenlamba of Jos South, Plateau State, after coming back from their mining site. The House do resolve. Mandate Operation Safe Haven to identify and evacuate all cells of bandits within.
The Central Bank of Nigeria's directive to commercial banks on the inclusion of social media handles on the Know Your Customer regulation gets the attention of the House, which calls for its stoppage, despite the position of the CBN that it would galvanize compliance with anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing provisions.
If the directive takes effect, Nigerians who are not on social media with large turnovers from their businesses and trades would be compelled to or systematically excluded from formal banking system with its attendant negative effect and implications.
The motion is adopted as the House in a separate motion resolves to investigate the issue of excess charges and illegal deductions by commercial banks.
Concerned that the hike in fees by the universities is happening against the worsening poverty level in the country, inflation, and high rate of unemployment, and the recent fuel hike. Worried that the hike may aggravate the already volatile situation in the country, as students are already making threats which could lead to an uprising with grievous consequences for the country as a whole.
Also, the House of Representatives is calling on the National Universities Commission to suspend the increase in tuition fees of universities, considering the worsening poverty level in the country. The House is also asking the federal government to reverse the recent hike of school fees in unity schools. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the Vice President says the situation in Nigeria requires the cooperation of all citizens, irrespective of differences in political or religious persuasions, tribal and sectional backgrounds, to support the Tinubu administration in its noble objective of transforming the country. Vice President Kashim Shettima stated this today when he received the leadership of the 10th Assembly, led by the Speaker, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, in his office at the State House in Abuja. The Speaker told journalists after the meeting that the lawmakers are looking beyond party lines in their parliamentary activities.
The day begins with a visit from the Gombe State Governor, Mohammed Yahaya. Speaking to State House correspondents after a closed-door meeting with the Vice President, the Governor states that as chairman of the Northern Governors Forum, he and his fellow governors will do all they can to ensure the narrative of insecurity in the region is changed.
Because of the encroachment of our grazing reserves, forest reserves, and even the cattle routes, issues have started to spring up, and those issues are those that catapulted to become, to result into rustling, banditry, and kidnap for ransom, which is very, very prevalent in the northwest and the north central. So at the moment, we are focusing on doing that, maintaining the peace by providing for each and everybody and each and every sector.
Still looking at expected flooding and insecurity in the northern parts of the country, the Jigawa State Governor, Umar Namadi, also meets behind closed doors with the Vice President, asking for his support as chairman of the National Economic Council on some issues bedeviling the state.
As a government, we are doing so many things. We have set up a technical committee of experts, and they are looking at how they can, in fact, they have submitted a report, and part of the report we have started implementing. We have bought 2 excavators, and also Hadi Jamara bought 2 excavators. As of today, we are able to dredge the river about 36 kilometers, and we have removed the taifa grass. And also, again, part of the recommendation of the committee is that we should do some embankment in the flood-prone areas.
Rounding up the day's visits to the Vice President is a courtesy call from Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, alongside newly elected principal officers of the National Assembly. The Speaker described the visit as part of the Unity Project, assuring that the 10th House of Representatives is looking beyond party lines as they focus on their parliamentary activities.
Come July 27th, on the last day of this particular session, we'll gladly inform the Nigerian people, our committee members, and committee chairmen and deputies. I'm sure you are aware there were some misunderstandings. They were just misunderstandings. We sent our list ahead of the time when we brought them open, and it was just unfortunate the national chairman did not see the list before we announced, but we really did that. And that misunderstanding was cleared later. So we are on the same page right now. No issues at all.
Meanwhile, a statement from the Office of the Vice President quotes him as saying the President has proved his competence, his capability, and his commitment. I urge you, Right Honourable Speaker, and the esteemed leadership of the House to support the President in his noble objectives of transforming this nation. From the State House in Abuja, Kayla Magwa, Channels Television News.
And as part of efforts to cushion the effect of the fuel subsidy removal on the residents, the Rivers State government has launched a free transport scheme. Governor Siminalayi Fubara, who was represented by his deputy at the launch, explained that the administration is committed to improving the well-being of the people as promised during their campaign. The unveiling was attended by government functionaries and the leadership of the organized labor in the state.
The high cost of transportation is one of the major consequences of the removal of subsidy on petrol, following the corresponding increase in the pump price of the product. In Rivers State, South Nigeria, fares increased by at least 100%, posing a huge challenge for commuters, while the use of personal cars no longer makes any economic sense. As part of palliative measures, the Rivers State government is unveiling a free transport scheme in fulfillment of its promise to the state leadership of the Nigerian Labour Congress.
This scheme is not for workers alone. It is for entire state, including students in tertiary institutions or in secondary school. Everybody, that is the purpose for this scheme you have run.
Governor Siminalayi Fubara, who is represented by his deputy, Professor Ngozi Odu, says the gesture is a demonstration of the state government's concern to the plight of the people.
It's a deliberate intervention by the Rivers State government to mitigate the effect of these economic challenges. Therefore, it is a gift given to us, and therefore we must treasure it. Just 4 or 5 weeks of taking over from office, you're getting gifts, and many more gifts will come your way. I got this tape.
She then unveils the buses and becomes the first passenger of the scheme.
God the Son and God the Holy Spirit.
The leadership of the organized labor union in the state is pleased that succor finally comes the way of residents.
I want to appreciate our governor for embarking on this scheme, for reducing the impact of transportation fare in Rivers State workers.
We are very happy that he took this giant stride, and this simply tells us that we have a transformational governor who is willing and ready to make the living conditions of Rivers people better.
The buses are officially released for immediate operations within Port Harcourt, the Rivers State capital.
Well, that's it from the nation's capital, but the news at 10 continues with Millicent in Lagos.
Many thanks, Victor. And tribute poured in today in celebration of the life and time of foremost Professor of Communication in Nigeria, Lai Oso. At a day of tribute at the Lagos State University, media scholars, practitioners, as well as friends and proteges of the professor talked about how he impacted them. Our correspondent Timothy Crown at Deribigbe reports.
Students and members of staff of Faculty of Communication and Media Studies at the Lagos State University in procession in honor of late Professor Lai Oso, who was until his death a member of this community. The procession goes round the school premises at Ojo before terminating at the Boba Marwa Auditorium for another phase of the event, the day of tribute for the departed Professor of Communication. The Deputy Vice-Chancellor Administration of the University, representing the Vice-Chancellor, leads other principal officers to the hall. Professor Oso's widow and children are also present. Tribute pour in from voices both physically and virtually.
Even though we grieve for his loss, our hearts are gladdened by the fact that he lived an extraordinary life. Above all, Professor Lai Oso was a dedicated public servant and family man to the poor. He was a trusted and reliable friend to many. He had a profound sense of duty to everyone.
Late Professor Oso meant different things to the different people he came in contact with, and they expressed this in their words.
Today we're not dying, but we are celebrating the life of Professor Lai Oso.
who has the interest of everyone around him.
When he came to the Faculty of Communication in 2004 specifically as a visiting associate professor on sabbatical appointment, he introduced the Professional Masters of Communications Studies at the Faculty of Communication, Lagos State University. Again, when he was given a full chair in 2011, he introduced the commencement of the Doctor of Philosophy degree program in Communication Studies.
The chairman of Channels Media Group, Dr. John Momo, who is represented here by the Assistant General Manager Operations, Mr. Kingsley Ranta, extols the virtues of a late professor as well as his contribution to the communication community nationwide.
The lives he touched, the minds he shaped, and the inspiration he instilled will continue to resonate through the generations of media professionals who we are fortunate enough to cross paths with him.
It's an emotion-laden event for his family, who takes comfort in these testimonies of their father and husband.
It was like a surprise that about a lot of people had personal experiences of how he had helped them in one way or the other. So yes, I am surprised that his reach was that big. Even though I knew he was such a good man, I am surprised how good he was and to the extent at which he impacted people.
Aged 67, Professor Lai Oso died on Saturday, June the 25th, 2023, while returning from Delta State University, where he served as an external examiner. He had over 122 publications to his credit, among other achievements. Timothy Crown, Adiribibe, Channels Television News.
Our thoughts and prayers are with his family. Now it's time for business news. Here's Anne Waldo.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Millicent. Hello and welcome to Business News. Let's begin in the petroleum sector. Nigeria's crude oil production is an uptrend as it increases for the second consecutive month in the month of June, and that's according to latest reports coming from the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission. Data coming from that regulator also shows the crude oil production rose to 1.24 million barrels per day in the month of June, and that's a 5.5% increase from 1.18 million recorded in the month of May, while blended and unblended condensate stood at about 55,000 and 176,000 barrels per day. Experts believe that if the current drive is sustained and loopholes are cut off from the entire industry, then Nigeria should expect substantial growth in meeting its current OPEC daily data and quota of 1.38 million barrels per day. The financial market has been abuzz as the chairman of Honeywell Group, Obao Tudeko, through one of his affiliates, Barbican Group, bought the largest shares of First Bank Nigeria Holdings PLC. The shares acquisition is now a subject of controversy. Allegations over the validity of the trade continues to unfold. Our correspondent Ini John Mekwa reports.
July 7th, 2023, a letter of notification of acquisition of substantial shareholdings in First Bank Holdings PLC by an affiliate of Honeywell Group, Barbican Capital Limited, which acquired 4.8 billion units from FBN Holdings' issued share capital of about 35.9 billion. The letter, signed by the acting company secretary of First Bank Holdings, Mr. Adewale Arogundade, shows that Barbican Capital Limited holds 13.3% of the holding shares, a majority individual holder. The letter has since been captured on the website of the Nigerian Exchange Group. This move seems to have drawn attention to, among other things, the alleged 5.5 billion naira debt recovery suit between the companies of Mr. Obao Tudeko and EcoBank Nigeria Limited, which was a matter in court in 2018.
The reason why it's controversial is because you remember that a few years ago, the immediate past Plateau governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria had fired the board of First Bank of Nigeria, PLC, and First Bank Holding Company. Then the chairman of the board of the holding company and the bank was Oba Otudeko and Ms. Ibukun Ashimba over regulatory forbearance of about 750 billion. I remember then First Bank had a non-performing loan book, which was the highest in the banking industry of somewhere between 27 and 28%. And the central bank basically talked about the fact that there was violation of BOFIA in terms of the fact that shareholders and directors of the banks are not allowed to hold more than 1% of the loan book of the bank. And that has been violated by the past chairman of First Bank Holding Company, Oba Otudeko. So basically, he was removed as the chairman of the board. So what you've seen over the last 12 to 24 months, especially in the last 12 months, where you've seen that about 5.5% of the bank shares was acquired by a new shareholder, the chairman of Geregu, Mr. Femi Otedola, and you saw the tussle on the board of the bank for control of the bank. You begin to understand the issues surrounding the fact that EcoBank had sued First Bank, sued about Tudeko, and determined that the sale of Honeywell Group should not go ahead to Flour Mills of Nigeria because it wanted to prevent a situation where the 13.5 billion naira that is owed to EcoBank, they had a collateral to securitize the loan, which is non-performing right now.
Channels Television has reached out to the office of Mr. Otudeko as well as EcoBank for their reaction, but is yet to get responses. Actions or inactions on this issue will certainly affect conversations on the need or not for an extraordinary general meeting of FBN Holdings. Ini John Mekwa, Channels Television News.
Well, let's head to the domestic equities market. It continued its bullish run today. It seems on track to hit this 67,000 level. Let's hear the details from Ini John Mekwa.
Oh, thank you so much, and welcome to the stock market report. It seems the NGX is hitting a new index point every day. Monday was 64,000. Tuesday is 65,000 at 65,669.29. Not as green as yesterday, but here, 1.65% are still green, and the market cap still at 35 trillion naira, 35.7. That's a whole lot, getting close to 36. And when we look at the activity chart, it's a red one. We see deal is less, volume is less. Volume is less, more than 50%, as well as value. For value, I think about 57%. So what does this tell us? It tells us that profit taking seems to be coming up now. When we look at the counters, the sectors there, especially with the banking counter, it's down more than 3%. The full gas got hit. I mean, investors will want to take some of their money, so we shouldn't blame them. That's what is happening here. But guess who's doing really good? Dangote. Yesterday added 30 naira, today added 36 naira. That's led the industrial goods up 7.48%. Wow, what a relief. But in the summary at the close of the day, the bull is still in charge. So the bull is still in charge, but we see profit taking setting in, and this might be a very good time for you to get on this ship before it heads back to 66,000. It seems not too late for investors and I hope you can take advantage of it, but that's the stock market report. Over to you.
Well, Ini, I guess I've been dusting my wallet since yesterday, so I guess it's the right time to do this. So thank you very much. Let's head to outside our shores and find out how the closing numbers fared at the close of trade. That's Business News Tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. It's back to you, Millicent.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial star 894 hash now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks, Anne. NATO states say Ukraine can join the military alliance, but only when allies agree and conditions are met. Here's Simon Pusey with other international stories.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. President Volodymyr Zelensky has hit out at NATO for what he sees as delays to making Ukraine a member. He says it is unprecedented and absurd not to have a time frame for Ukraine's membership, adding that uncertainty was weakness and that he will openly discuss this at the summit. With NATO meeting in the Lithuanian capital for the Vilnius summit, Jens Stoltenberg insisted Ukraine would get a clear and positive message on membership. While NATO members agree Kyiv cannot join during the war with Russia, they have disagreed over how quickly it could happen after the war and under what conditions. Meanwhile, the Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson says he was happy with the Turkish green light to Sweden's NATO membership bid.
For all the efforts throughout this process.
Turkish President Tayyip Recep Erdogan late on Monday agreed to send the Nordic country NATO's application to Parliament for ratification, appearing to end months of opposition that strained the bloc.
It's well known that Sweden, after 200 years of non-alignment, we seek common protection, but I also want all NATO allies to know that we also provide security, provide common security, and we are here for the long term. We are decisive in fighting terrorism, we're decisive in fighting organized crime, so I think Sweden has a lot to bring to the table as well. So I'm very happy with this result from yesterday, and now we look forward to the final 2 ratifications. So welcome to you.
And Finland received a warm welcome at the summit in Vilnius after becoming the 31st member country to join the organization in April.
First time we are full members attending the NATO meeting. The first good news we heard already, I mean that our good neighbor Sweden has succeeded in their negotiations to get some green light to their membership, and that is most important for us in Finland too, not just because they are good friends and neighbors, but they are very much needed in securing the Northern European security.
Уже и Хельсинки, и Стокгольм обсуждают с Соединенными Штатами.
Russia's foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, said they would take what he called appropriate and timely measures in response to the expansion of the NATO military alliance. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has said that the allegation that one of the BBC's star presenters paid a teenager for sexually explicit photos was both concerning and serious. The broadcaster suspended a male member of staff on Sunday following the claims published by the Sun newspaper about the presenter.
Look, we have an existing set of laws that govern free speech and privacy. I think it's important that the BBC conducts this investigation quickly and rigorously, given the concerning and serious nature of the allegations.
Mr. Robert Smith, what's your reaction to the judgment?
Australia's most decorated living soldier, Ben Robert Smith, is appealing against a landmark defamation judgment which found he committed war crimes. A judge last month ruled articles alleging the Victoria Cross recipient had murdered 4 Afghans were true. It was the first time in history any court has assessed claims of war crimes by Australian forces. A swollen river in India's northern hill state of Himachal Pradesh has showed no signs of abating following heavy rains that lashed the region, causing widespread flooding and inundating homes. Eyewitness video captured a partially submerged temple and a damaged bridge in the swollen Beas River. Floods and landslides in Himachal Pradesh state has killed at least 72 people within the last month. And a volcano has erupted on the Reykjanes Peninsula in southwest Iceland near the capital Reykjavik, following intense earthquake activity in the area. Images and videos showed lava and smoke emanating from the side of the mountain. Unlike the eruption in 2010, which halted approximately 100,000 flights and forced hundreds of Icelanders from their homes, this eruption is not expected to spew much into the atmosphere. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
It's time for sports. We'll begin with the Niger Super 8 Group A encounter at the Mobolaji Johnson Arena in Lagos, where Sporting Lagos came from a goal down to beat Remo Stars 2-1. Frank Mawena gave Remo Stars the lead in the 18th minute, but Sporting Lagos fought back and equalized through Saturday Okon 3 minutes before halftime and later sealed their victory with a goal from Chiemeka Nwokeji on the stroke of 90 minutes to top Group A. Meanwhile, defending champion Novak Djokovic has reached his 12th Wimbledon semi-final, the record equaling 46th at the Grand Slam with a 4-set victory over Andrew Rublev. Djokovic, chasing an 8th title at the All England Club and 24th career major, came through 4-6, 6-1, 6-4, 6-3. That's it on sports. Millicent, it's back to you.
Thanks, Jeffrey. And the main news again. Security operatives today set ablaze a vessel laden with stolen crude oil in Delta State after it was intercepted with the captain and crew members on board. That's the news at 10 tonight. Many thanks for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night. Stay safe.
Well, hello everyone and welcome to Political Paradigm. I'm Terry.